Boom.
Cool.
We are rolling.
Rolling.
We're alive, man. We're alive. Yeah, dude.
Let's
so
do it.
continuing where we were, because we were just having some Corona, just to get with the times. For the time that I've actually known you, I want to just kind of start this off. I would love to kind of get to know you better, because besides like the brief, hang time in between like sessions, and we had a lot more free time back at the other place. But
For sure.
I'm thinking like
Basically paid to relax.
yeah. Well, no, the other place you wouldn't even get paid when you were relaxing.
Yeah.
That was off the clock by the session. So for those of you who don't know, by the way, Preston Davis, or Johnathan Preston Davis, the JPD himself. Are you junior too? That'd be awesome.
Kind of, yeah.
No way.
So my dad's name is Harlan Johnathan Davis, and my grandfather's name is Preston Johnathan Davis.
Wow.
And the reason I go by Preston is when my grandfather died when I was 3-4 years old.
Yeah.
Just out of respect for him, everybody in the family called me Preston.
No
Aunts,
way.
uncles, like first time meeting them, they just called me Preston. And so that's always what I've gone by. That's what my parents call me unless I'm in trouble.
Yeah. Then they go, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Here, turn this to the side, because you have to speak into the side of it instead of
Like
the front.
that?
It's kind of weird.
All right.
Yeah. Yo, so where are you from? Because I know your family's out south, right?
Yeah. So I was born in Brighton, Massachusetts. I lived in Dorchester until about elementary school, and then elementary school we moved to Framingham, Mass. Made it all the way through elementary school, and then we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
So middle school, high school, that's where I grew up. And then I came back up here just because I stayed in touch with a lot of my close friends from my hometown in Boston and in Central Mass. And they all went to UMass Amherst. So I was like, okay. I need to get out of this state. I'm going to go to UMass too.
Nice.
And so that's how I ended up back here.
What, you had friends who came up here first? Or you said family?
No. So the friends that I knew in elementary school, I just stayed in contact with them.
Oh, gotcha.
And so I would visit here like a couple weeks in the summer every now and then. And I didn't want to go to school in state in North Carolina.
Right.
So UMass Amherst, that's where they were all going. So I was like, okay, might as well.
Right.
Yeah.
How was UMass? I've been on campus. That place looks fun. Actually, my friend Dean Martin and I don't know if you remember that episode.
Yeah.
We went and did, like, me, him, and my friend Plouffe, we had a prank channel on YouTube. And I remember we went to UMass and
Awesome.
tried our luck there. And
Yeah.
it was a blast.
I'm sure.
People, well, it's just an awesome campus. It's very open. It's very big. And it's like, I don't know. There's something to it. And I'm not somebody who's been to many colleges, so maybe I don't know what I'm missing. But
it's massive, and in that aspect, there's a lot of things to do. So, it's one of those schools where it's really easy to get distracted.
Yeah, I could only imagine.
Every night of the week, there's
partying,
something to do. But not only that, like there's so many clubs and organizations. Whatever your interest is, you can get into it. So I really respect and enjoyed my time there. That gave me the opportunity to go to England for 6 months.
What did you do?
Study abroad.
You did a study abroad in England?
Yeah, Oxford University.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, what was England like?
Amazing to the point where I'm still considering if anything goes on, like if this is actually the apocalypse.
You might go there?
Yeah, I might try and hop and skip over
England would be your go-to?
Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
What part of England?
So Oxford University, and Oxford is actually the entire city. So there are multiple campuses, depending on your concentration. So there's a literary campus, there's a business campus, and it's this huge, huge city. So people actually live there as well.
No kidding.
And it's exactly what you think it would look like. Like where we stayed, Trinity College was the literary campus, and it literally looks like Hogwarts.
You majored in English?
Yeah.
Dude, that must have been fun. Honestly, I don't know why. Every single time I went to college, because I went, as if you've been listening, I always talk about it. I went for like 3 different things in the 3 different semesters that I even attended college. Though English was always my favorite.
Yeah.
Creative writing was always my favorite.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Same.
I'm not sure why. Even though I failed too.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? Like that was my favorite class.
Yeah.
And because we were doing creative writing the whole year, what happened is that the final was was on citation. So it was like a really big switch up from the abstract to the finite.
Yeah.
So that kind of just blew me out of the water.
Same thing.
I failed it.
I think that's probably the biggest thing I struggled with is
citation.
Well, yeah, we were just talking about it. Like, I'm a stickler for knowledge to the point where if I consume enough of it, I love creating my own ideas. And when I have to cite or bring in sources from somebody else, it kind of pisses me off a little bit.
Yeah.
So, like, that was, like, the one thing that my teachers hated about me is, like, I would put, like, 2 quotes in the whole paper. And the rest of it was my own writing. They'd be like, I have to give you, like, a C.
Why? Because you didn't cite the quotes?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, not because I didn't cite the quotes, because I didn't have enough source material.
Oh, they wanted you to go outsource a lot more of it.
Yeah, like, I remember there was this one paper where we were writing about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And the whole paper, I basically talked about how much I disliked the book. And the teacher of the class was literally, he was an expert in Tolkien. Like, that's what his whole PhD was on,
Really?
like a doctorate in it. And I accused Tolkien of having a God complex. Like, the second book is just them walking for like 16 chapters.
Yeah.
Like, this is not good literary, like, material.
Right.
He could have done a lot better.
I was going to say that must be rare that people.
Yeah.
Well, I was just talking to my friends about this the other day. Like, it's funny how, and this is sort of the inverted perspective that I remember throughout high school and middle school, how many different English teachers would bash Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
For his lack of punctuation and grammar. I'm like, it's Dr. Seuss. Like, come on.
He literally changed the game.
Just
that's why I didn't like him.
Suck the life out of him because he
was a rebel.
Because he was a rebel. Like, really? Is that what it comes down? Is that what makes a good novel? Is it the punctuation and the spelling? Because I mean, if everybody knows what's going on, then what? There's nothing wrong with it. I felt like it was honestly.
He created his own ideas, and that's why people hated him.
Yeah, those were the first books I started reading personally.
Love Dr. Seuss.
I know. So, do you? So I'm thinking now, because since you've been into English and all that, and you even went overseas to England. Do you ever get into like philosophy? Do you like Jordan Peterson, Alan Watts? Have you ever heard Joseph Campbell?
Yeah, so I took one philosophy class in college, but it was foundational. So like Kant and utilitarianism. That's more so what I have a feel on. I didn't delve into that too much, but that class was good for. We were talking about critical thinking outside. It's good for setting like a moral standard for yourself.
Right.
And that's why I like philosophy, so that when, even with all the craziness going on in the world, I can always like fall back on that.
Yeah.
And determine my own ideas. Like, I feel like people overcomplicate what right and wrong really means.
Yeah.
And if people would simplify it a little bit more, we'd probably be in a better spot as the human race.
Oh my God, I know. People just don't seem to want to take things back to the basics. They get so mixed up and messy with everything.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. Every time I feel a little distraught or out of sorts, nothing like good philosophy really helps me kind of just come back. Are you familiar with Alan Watts?
I'm not.
You'd probably love Alan Watts. Jordan Peterson's also another great philosopher.
Okay.
Those are the main two that I really like. Jordan Peterson's a more modern philosopher.
Yeah, that'd be
cool. He's a psychologist, and he definitely touches on more of the things that are happening or not happening right now, because he's actually been taking like a hiatus because of a mental problem, not mental problems, but he was on anxiety medication. Okay. And then he had to come off of it.
Yeah.
And that kind of messed him
Threw him off. Yeah.
Big time. And so he's a great role model. He's been like seen with Russell Brand. And you're familiar with Russell Brand a little bit.
Yeah, Russell Brand. Jordan Peterson sounds familiar.
Yeah, you'll probably see him around.
I'll have to look into that.
But no, Alan Watts is great. For those of you who don't know Alan Watts, definitely check him out on YouTube. Really one of the most peaceful. He's a philosopher who. His time was like the 50s and 60s. Okay. So it was when like segregation was really big, and like how there's a lot of friction between like religion at that time too,
Yeah.
because that's when the hippie movement started.
Yeah.
So a lot more people were diving into spirituality.
Okay.
He was a really huge driving force on enlightening the West on philosophical and religious functions of the East.
Cool.
So he was a huge advocate of Hinduism.
Okay.
And it was kind of a birthplace for people in
Very cool.
the West to learn about Hinduism, and that's kind of where I've adopted a lot of my most favorite philosophies towards
Okay.
life is through him.
Alan Watts.
Alan Watts,
Okay.
yeah, he's a OG. He's an OG of OG. He was around the same time as Joseph Campbell, and he was one of those very English, upright, suit and tie.
Yeah.
Philosophers that then ended up doing LSD and shit. So he
Okay.
gets like deep. You know what I mean? I think that's a very
cool, yeah.
complimenting feature.
Those
that
are the best philosophers.
They really are,
Yeah.
because when you get to constructively use internal tools to then like dissect and dive into certain philosophies, I feel like you come up with much deeper and more profound information on those types of things, or better ways to explain them, better ways to apply them to people who so that everybody can sort of understand.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think that at the end of the day, a lot of people might lack that. I mean, look at just right now. I mean, we're really living in the age of the victim, and people like are so apt to blame others for their issues instead of looking inward,
internally.
yeah, and feeling like, okay, this might be something I can fix.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's like hell. That's like hell to blame somebody else.
Yeah.
And then drink poison and hope somebody else dies. You know, like that's pretty much what you're doing to yourself when you're like, you know what, that everything that happened to me is because of this person or because of that, and it's like, oh man, when you see people like that, you just shake your head because it's just,
Very true.
You hope the best for them, really.
Yeah.
So what kind of courses did you guys take? Like out in Oxford, I'm sure they had a lot of really awesome.
Yeah, so it was a lot of romantic and older literature. Tolkien was a big part of the project. We had to read all three books, like
Lord
all
of
the
the
way
Rings?
through. Yeah.
Wow.
And they're like both.
Were
all
they
of
good?
them are like the length of the Bible. The first one and the last one are very
bring
good.
this in just a little.
Yeah, the first one and the last one are very good.
Yeah.
The middle one is not.
No. Okay.
The middle one is basically a transition between the first and the last, and it's just imagine reading about like a couple of guys kind of tracking like if they're hunters tracking a deer through the woods, and that's the entire book.
Really?
Yeah.
Who was tracking them? The
So it's the characters from the movie, like Legolas and Aragorn, and they're tracking orcs.
Okay.
I forget why they are. They're trying to get to some end game or whatever. But for a ton of the chapters, it's them just looking at footprints and figuring out where the orcs are going, and trying to gather information. And like literally, that book took me. You had to read it pretty quickly, so about 2 weeks. But
to read the whole thing?
Yeah.
Damn, dude, you must be a good reader.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible reader.
With Oxford, you had to, because like the formatting of the class, it was you. And maybe 7 other people, and then the professor.
Gotcha.
The professor would assign reading, either an entire book or an entire story from an anthology. We also read
What's
King
an
Arthur.
anthology?
An anthology is like a collection of stories.
Oh, okay.
So there will be like whole novels inside of this book, but they're like back to back to back, and they'll have different authors, different perspectives.
Oh, cool.
Like we had technically we had to read King Arthur and the Round Table.
What was that like?
That was cool.
That was a good one.
Yeah, so that was really good.
That's awesome. You guys read stuff like that. I feel like I'd be way cooler if I read stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've been listening to books.
Yeah.
Lately, I'm
That's
trying
fine.
to. I think I've mentioned it in the last few podcasts. Like every week, or however long. Sometimes it takes a while to listen to a full audiobook because they're like 15 hours. But I'm thinking this commute time. It's just such a waste to listen to music.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing anything listening to
Yeah,
music.
that's what
I'm spacing out. So.
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
On the way to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, however you can comprehend them. But yeah, and then the formatting in the class, I feel like you'd like too. It's literally, it's like a book club. So you read the book, and the professor literally sits back and is like, "What did you guys think?"
No kidding.
And that's like
I like
the
that.
entirety of their lecture.
Conversation
like,
based.
What do you guys think?
class.
He'll either be like, okay, that's a really good point. Do you think this, and this?
Yeah.
And like the professor will say maybe 7 words the entire
See, that's
class.
what I really miss about college. The one
Yeah.
thing I favored most, if there was one thing, it would be the thought-provoking environment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really forced you to think. It really, at least in English, especially for me, I always wanted to participate. We were reading at the time the really, I think I still have the book. It's Advocates for Peace and something.
Okay.
And it was just a compilation of different pieces of literature from like Gandhi and Martin Luther King. And Thoreau
Cool.
and Emerson.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that good stuff. So I don't know. I enjoyed participating in that.
Yeah, and I would say that's probably the biggest benefit from going to college is just
Well, challenging your mind.
it forces you to think outside of your own perspective. And when you are consuming information at that fast of a rate, it forces you to think on the fly about what that information is and what is the source material for that information. So there's something called a primary source and a secondary source.
Yeah.
Primary sources are that is the research topic that team decided to work on. They found out an outcome, and now you're citing it. And I wish that like more people engage with that skill, because I feel like in this time with technology progressing as fast as it does, we have so much access to information, and the source material, I just feel like people are not, they're not
Dude,
questioning where it comes from. Yeah.
Dude, this comes down to an evolutionary standpoint in a second, so hold on here.
Yeah.
Because I've put a lot of thought, man. I put a lot of thought into this. And really what's happening, I discussed this with Dakota DeRoche in episode, I don't know, whatever, and how quickly technology progresses. So just take into account that technology doubles every year. If you had a penny that turned into doubled every day for 30 days, at the end of the 30 days, that one penny doubling would turn into over $5 million. Okay, so think the last 30 years, how quickly society changed because of the internet alone, right? Because that's really where we're all living our lives. We live, obviously we still do what we need to do on the day to day and earn money and eat and sleep in the physical world, but a lot of our communication, a lot of our social, we have way more social participation throughout life in. I put that weird on the internet. I should say.
I agree.
The rate at which it's grown and the rate at which we can not only communicate, or not the rate, the level at which we can communicate with each other, and the diversity of the things we know about each other has progressed way too fast for us to actually be able to.
Yeah, we're behind.
To mentally fathom, like to know what everybody's political opinions are, know what everybody's sexual orientations are, what they're doing. Things like Snapchat, know where people know where people are.
Yeah.
If they have their thing on. Like for those of you who don't have Snapchat, there's a function in Snapchat that allows you to see where people are.
Yeah.
And you can even do this, and there's even trace amounts of this on Facebook and Instagram, because like you share something, you can also share the location.
For sure.
So now you not only know where people are, you can even guess who people are talking to. And then, on a more deeper level, from a romantic or love life standpoint, you have now this vast sea of prospects or possibilities for mating. Like there's this many people now, and you can just see them, look through what they like, what they look like, where they've been. You have this personal profile of everybody.
Yeah.
And so if you're within our generation especially, you probably have all of these platforms. You know somebody before you have ever met them.
Yeah.
And you can make a lot of judgments, good or bad. And that can really mess you up. And especially in times like this with the coronavirus and all the George Floyd things. And then you have the mixture of all these pissed off people sharing their opinion. And then you got the media enforcing it in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, it stems from the media, and then people share from the media, the articles and stuff like that. So
and the biggest issue, I think, the biggest issue that people have with the media is that it's very reactionary. The media operates in especially in this country where capitalism is the way that we govern everything.
Yeah, so they're trying to make some money.
Yeah, the media operates as a business. So if enough people have an opinion on something that they've developed because a couple of their friends have the same opinion, the media is going to then latch on to that, and that's what they're going to report on.
Big time.
They're not... I forget what I was reading about, like, why journalism is dying, because a lot of these news sources are not creating their own stories.
No.
It's regurgitated. They're all sharing the same stories, and they're only sharing what their viewership wants to see. So you have something like Fox News or CNN, they're going to confirm your bias.
Every time.
Yeah, they know that this is how you feel, and you will watch us because we're basically justifying your opinion.
Dude, that's that's like nail on the head.
Yeah, and that's
call
crazy.
It programming for a reason.
Yeah.
It's constant manipulation and artificial construction of people's opinions.
Yeah.
Like, think about how many times even just throughout the years that we've been alive, like, I've never really paid as much attention to the media until maybe like 24, when I was 24 years old.
Same.
And I'm like, huh. And it's like, it's even and that's only been like 4 years for me, maybe since my earlier 20s.
Yeah.
But I feel like just like the racism thing alone, it seems like they keep recreating it, and they cause this black and white friction.
Yeah.
And it's like, how many times are you gonna divide people racially, religiously, politically? It's like everybody needs to have a side.
Yeah.
And they paint it so that there's only two sides.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest issue, is why we can't progress. I'm like, the way that I feel is I understand that racism as an institution is something that exists, and it's really something that has foundationally built this country. Like, you're not going to have the economic superpower that is America without a free labor system that built it up.
No.
So absolutely, and that only happened 100 years ago. Absolutely, we're not...
How was it, 100 or 200? I wish I had the... But yeah, I know what you mean.
Something
the
like
point
that,
is
a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then, only like 50 years ago, did we get...
There's redlining.
Yeah.
That was a big part of it. That's almost what decided where a lot of people live today.
Yeah. And I even, like, in my city in Charlotte, there was like the bus system in Charlotte did not desegregate. Like, the buses were still taking certain areas of people to certain schools based on your identity.
Holy shit.
I think they ended it in 1994. So...
Fuck.
Yeah. So I understand that, but my problem with how people are attacking the organization, and by organization I mean like the movement creation.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter, ALCU.
Yeah, how do you feel about all that?
Yeah, so...
Because that's a super controversial one.
Yeah, the problem that I'm seeing is twofold. So, one, I don't see any leaders.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody directing the movement.
Leaders how?
Like, name the top person in the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's an organization, I think. That's why, right?
So, but the problem with that is that if we don't have leadership, or just point people who are going to direct the movement towards a specific target, you have a bunch of angry people who are just yelling.
Yeah.
Okay?
And sometimes it can even deter the main point, which is to get rid of oppression and more fundamentally get rid of the police brutality.
Yeah.
And I'm not against police by any means, but I am against police brutality. I think everybody is against police brutality. I don't think there's a single person who's like, police brutality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who is like, just kill them all? Like,
Right.
who's wanted? Like, it sucks being pulled over. I don't care who you are. I hate that shit.
Yeah. And so my thing is, like, if the leadership is absent, then there are no targets. So you have these things like...
Forget that.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
These things like defund the police or abolish the police, which to me is not... It's not a specific goal. That's not... You're not changing anything in the system. You have now...
It's like you're being controversial on purpose.
You've taken your messaging and made it way too broad so that the only outcome that you have is mass resistance.
Dude, that's such a freaking good point. Because Dude, that's exactly what I've been thinking. I was saying if these movements really wanted progress, they wouldn't name them controversial names, because fundamentally the incentive and the purpose of them is really good.
Yeah.
But they have these names where if you don't want to look into it, which by the name and the headline and the click alone would be so dismissive right away. Like no one's like, some people might look into the defund the police, but most of it seems to be just for attention.
Yeah.
And that tension can bring a lot of dismissiveness, because obviously fundamentally what we really want is reform of the police.
Yeah.
Which would be a fantastic name for such a movement, because the point is we need to, start from somewhere within that association, somewhere within the function and the service of the police, and find ways to either train them better, hire them better, keep them training,
absolutely,
something like that. And then there's a lot of really great points in relocating finances to different departments within the community to lower crime.
And I think that is something that, there are still going to be people who disagree with that, but there are going to be less people.
Right.
And if they can't back up their argument, then they sound illogical.
So instead of a 50-50, it's like an 80-20.
Right.
Like, I feel the same way.
Yeah,
I feel the exact same way. I'm like, dude, these are all great things, but if you're looking at the way people are presenting them and talking about them, it doesn't leave much room for somebody who might be opposed naturally to it to go, you know what, that might be not a bad idea.
Correct. Yeah.
Like, who wouldn't want cops to be better trained?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who wouldn't want a better hiring process, for more rigorous hiring process for cops?
Yeah, it should be hard.
Annual training.
Can I swear on this podcast?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, it should be hard as shit to become a police officer. It's such an important
job.
And you have not only your own life, but your brothers in arms. You have their lives in your hands, and then you have the people that you're serving's lives in your hands.
Yeah.
It should be one of the hardest jobs to acquire. And I think that should be the target of these movements, is like, let's make the training really, really, really good, and let's make the vetting process really, really, really hard. I can speak to like the people who are angry about, some police officers who get power and they immediately become corrupted by it. In my high school, I think in North Carolina.
Power's tough. It's a great job for a robot.
For sure.
I keep saying that. I know everybody doesn't want AI, but I would like, hey,
seriously, you have to be emotionless, and you have to have a really, really strong moral grounding. Like,
big time.
Opinions don't have a place in it.
No.
Like, there should be right and wrong, and that's what you should be enforcing.
You got to leave the rest of your life behind you when you're doing that job.
Like, my high school had a 45% dropout rate. It was
really?
not. Yeah.
Where was your high school?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh shit.
Monroe, North Carolina.
Did you grow up in the city?
No. So this was like, it's probably 25 minutes outside of Charlotte in Monroe. So it's rural. But I can think about a lot of people either didn't graduate or they just graduated, and maybe they didn't really go on to do anything else. Mm-hmm. But I can think about the 5, 6, 7 people in my grade who, like, everybody that I know, if I were to ask them, like, this kid was an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't treat anybody good.
Yeah.
Maybe he graduated high school and he didn't have a lot of options. So what did he do? He became a police officer.
No fucking way. Are you serious?
And a lot of them do, is they go into law enforcement. They don't go into something like firefighting. It's hard to become a firefighter.
Right.
Like, you have to...
Isn't that funny, dude?
Yeah.
Is it harder to become a firefighter
you
than a
have
cop,
to,
you think?
In order to be considered...
Yeah.
You probably have to get your EMT certification.
That's true. Because you do, yeah.
If not, become a paramedic. Mm-hmm. You take the tests, you take the written test, you take the physical aptitude test, and then there's fire academy. But just like the vetting process, if you pass those two things, you go onto a list depending on the town that you apply for.
Right.
And the list is huge because they have
so many people,
a huge amount of applicants every year.
Yeah.
And in order to pick the cream of the crop, like, it's whether or not you have an associate's or a bachelor of science in fire science.
Yeah.
Are you
this
an
is
EMT?
For fire department.
Yeah. Are you an EMT? Do you have experience being an EMT?
Yeah.
Are you a paramedic? Do you have experience being a paramedic? Like, you have to put your time in before you can actually work in the fire department.
I had this conversation with Cameron Prosperi, and I was so it was based off of Joe Rogan's podcast with Jocko.
Yeah,
No Jocko
I saw
Willink?
that one. Yep.
It's a great podcast, and he made a really fucking good point in that how important or how great it would be if in the selection and hiring process of police officers it was required, like most jobs, a degree that you would have some type of like at least a purple belt, they said, in jiu-jitsu or something of a mixed martial art source, because there's a lot of discipline. Never mind the skill of knowing or being a purple belt at the very least, which is is a very honorable belt to have, because right after purple, I believe, it's like brown and then black.
Yeah.
I think. Somebody could correct me on that.
But there's a lot of mental discipline,
There's a lot of mental discipline in that. And your ability to disarm or de-escalate a situation is just that much better.
Yeah.
Versus somebody scrambling and then you let... Because, again, the moment you get punched in the face, you're acting off instinct.
For sure.
Again, I'm not going to say whether or not everything is race-fueled, but you get punched in the face, you got a gun, and you're just we're just a monkey. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we're giving ourselves a little too much credit sometimes. Sure. We're just a monkey, we're really, just on a planet, and we're kind of figuring it out, but we can't really get off this planet yet. So it's like, how can you gauge really how intelligent we are? Yeah. So at some point, you're gonna wonder if a monkey gets punched in the face and he's got a device to just end lives. He pulls that out like fucking Clint Eastwood and just starts blasting. Like,
no, I feel that.
I mean, we're laughing here, but that's the truth.
Yeah,
that's the fucking truth. Because really, we're all motivated by the exact same things, and we're all stimulated and anxiety driven by the same things. All of a sudden, the person you're trying to detain scrambles out, knocks you in the face, punches somebody else. It's like,
yeah, you got to do something.
You got to do something, and some people are not prepared to take on that mental strain.
And so we just need to make sure that they are. But yeah, as far as my opinion towards whether to abolish the police or defend the police, I just for that very reason, I just don't trust that humanity is evolved enough to leave it to somebody in the community to help me enforce. I don't trust the person next to me. Like, you don't know who they are. This world is so crazy right now. I don't want to live in a world without somebody between me and them.
Talk about how privileged you have to be to go, I don't need the police.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't, but you ever been to the Bronx?
Yeah.
You're pretty much crazy. Relying on them, not, to be able to call somebody. Because I remember it was a TikTok, so again, go about this as you will. And this guy was going around interviewing people. He went to some suburb. Hey, how you feel about, and the privileged kids there are like, yeah, defund the police, get rid of them. And then he went to the inner city and said, what do you feel about defunding or abolishing the police? What are you, crazy? That's literally what everybody said. Are you out of your goddamn mind? What are you going to do without the cops? And, I'm not saying at all points should everybody have to rely on the cops, but at some point or another, it definitely shows how little gratitude you have, or how privileged you kind of are to not live somewhere where you are going to bed at night worrying that somebody could just bust your door down and do whatever.
Yeah, you don't have enough worries in life.
Yeah, and that's a reality a lot of people deal with in this country. Never mind other countries, but this country, there are places that are so populated that these are actual possibilities.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like because of college, I have that insight, is that I've worked with people on both sides of the spectrum. English is not that far a cry from economics or political science. And so I remember I was part of student government. I was in the organizing arm of the student government, where we were fighting for things like lower tuitions and tuition freezes. When all of the craziness around Blarney would happen, and the cops would show up in riot gear to break up a party at Puffton.
No way.
Yeah, we would organize against that. There has to be a different method.
Where did they do this?
So it's common knowledge at this point, and the school has pretty much cracked down on it. But and this is actually a lot of the strife between the school and the city of Amherst, is that we're college kids.
Right.
We like to party. It's known as a party school.
And they've busted parties like that?
Yeah, and there are a couple events that are just that massive. Blarney, which is centered around St. Patrick's Day, it used to be this massive block party at this certain apartment complex off campus called Puffton.
Yeah.
They block off the whole street for us, and it's just like kids in the street drinking.
No way.
Yeah, nuts. In town, there were a couple of bars that would sanction it, so then it moved there. And, you know, town hates it because, like, imagine being a family that, like, lives next door.
Yeah.
Like, you have to deal with this once a year. It's crazy. You have small kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts. But it just got to the point where, like, all it took was one town member to call the police, and the police would send out SWAT vehicles, and they're coming out with, like, shields.
Oh, my God.
Like the guns that shoot rubber bullets and pepper
no
spray.
fucking
like,
way to stop college kids from partying.
Yeah.
That's a little rough.
Yeah. And so that's obviously something different because there's not like a racial identity attached to it.
Right.
But I remember like we marched for that too. We went to the chancellor's office and occupied it, and we're like, something has to change. Like there has to be a different method for this. And they like called the chief of police in Boston to come down and like advise them on how to handle things like this. Because it also
without
happens.
Force?
Yeah. It also happens for, like, when the Red Sox won the World Series. Like, stupid stuff that, like, college kids are going to be excited about.
Right. Yeah, that does seem extremely, like, riot control.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude.
It's just, like, a lot. And so...
But depends. I mean, did it ever get to the point where things were being, like, destroyed? Or was it just a party?
I mean, so, like, things, you know, nobody's car, like... This is not Boston, so we're not like flipping cars or anything. Like somebody might throw a beer
jumping
bottle
on windshields.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But no, there was like it never got to the point where there was damage or whatever. But I've just been like in those rooms talking with these people, and I just know, like you said, where that privilege comes from.
Yeah.
Like I'm the only person of color in the room.
Right.
It's a group of 20 of us.
Right.
15 of them, like their parents have already paid off their entire college. They have no debt.
That.
You know what I mean? Like, and so like if these people are then going out into the real world and organizing these movements, like they just have to be cognitive. Like I know for a fact that a lot of those kids would just never step foot in Springfield.
No.
Because they have like an opinion of what Springfield is.
Yeah.
Like
I'll be honest, I am guilty of that. But I've always lived in the city. I've never I come from poverty, but I've like always away. I hate cities.
Yeah,
but I like Northampton, Amherst type cities.
Yeah.
But like I've been to New York and I've been to London, and I just can't. It's busy. It's too busy for me.
That's fine. I thrive in a city. I just love it. I love the people, like the crazy things that you see.
Some people love it.
Yeah.
I feel like I could if I could figure out a groove.
Yeah,
I like the activity.
Yeah.
I like busyness.
Yeah.
I'll sit down in a cafe.
I like that there's something to do all the time.
Yeah, I do appreciate that a lot. Montreal. Have you been to Montreal?
I've been to Montreal a couple times.
Awesome.
Yep. Been to Montreal. I've been to Ottawa.
Yeah.
Right before this pandemic, I went to Austin, Texas.
No way. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was Texas?
It was really cool. Austin is like a little weirder than the rest of Texas, but like every block there's something different. Like even to the point, like there's bars everywhere, but on the same street you're gonna pass a bar that has like a mechanical bull in it.
Yeah.
Right next to it is an esports bar.
What?
So it's like a bar where like there are gaming consoles.
Did you ever ride one of those mechanical bulls?
No.
I think I might have once. I forget where. Maybe it was just in a dream.
Could have been. Yeah.
I feel like it's really hard. Darn, I'm trying to think of where I saw it. I did it, if I ever did. But
no. But I would suggest anybody go there. Like I love
Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to Texas because I grew up in southern Missouri.
Okay.
I grew up on a hippie commune.
Okay.
Imagine that. So I traveled around a lot. We would do like van trips, and I went to Texas. The one thing I remember most about Texas was the fire ants. Those things sucked. I don't know where. We were camping.
I've stepped in a pile before.
Dude,
a couple times.
I got... and as a little kid, you want to test it.
Yeah.
Everything you want to test as a little kid.
Just
You're like, let's see what happens. And one time I had like a stuffed animal because I was really young. I was like 5 years old. And I remember my stuffed animal covered and I was just crying. I'm like, no. Because it's like, there's no way I'm going to ever get that thing back because it's covered in fire ants. I've been to California too. I remember passing through Nevada and all that. No, I think I have a friend who's in the military who's down there too.
Yeah, but no, that's cool. Yeah. I've traveled to a lot of states too. Yeah, and those experiences just like it makes you see a lot of different people and experience them and interact with them.
Dude, I think that's the foundation of a lot of
I
gratitude.
think that's what happens. I think that's what needs to happen more is this people need to interact. Hard to say now.
Well, yeah, now it's tough, but I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think a big root problem, if there was at least one, it's that not enough people have enough experience.
Yeah.
So they have no idea what it's like to even live in this country, really.
Correct.
Even though they've been living in it in their whole lives, they really don't have an idea what it's like to live here.
You grew up in one town.
Because you've been in the same town, same state, maybe.
You went to school here.
I know people who've been living in Massachusetts their whole life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking about just how fundamentally important it is to know what it's like to live in another country.
Yeah.
Again, there's a lot of, especially in our generation, there's a lot of glamorization and glorification of like socialism or socialist countries. And be that as it may, that they have a lot of pros. Mm-hmm. I mean, you really wouldn't know the difference until you've really lived there.
Yeah.
Try to go.
You got to see it.
Run a business there. Try to make money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you want to retire at 65 or do you want to retire at 35?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These are questions you want to ask yourself because, nowhere is perfect. If you're expecting that, then you're shit out of luck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're looking to find a place in this world that's perfect and everything's great, then
Yeah, we're not there yet. Yeah.
Sorry.
Haven't evolved enough.
Like that's not going to happen. So say you live maybe somewhere in Asia or South Africa, or not South Africa. Anyway, I guess there's a lot of good countries in Africa. South Africa is a country though. I was this close to going to Cape Town.
Yeah.
You ever see that place?
I've seen it in pictures
I Googled
and stuff.
it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And South America. And there's many countries in which you could compare and I think would really set the foundation for your gratitude and how much you can and have in this country.
Yeah, you got to see it.
It's tough. And that's where I feel like a lot of people are speaking out of place. Like you'll see people be really quick to bash certain things about this country and not realize, that I think one of them, especially now, because it's so current and in the media's events, is just the diversity of people, cultures, races. You don't get that. Like for instance, I lived in Portugal. You just get Portuguese food, Portuguese people.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna find a Mexican restaurant in Portugal.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find a
lot
Japanese.
Of places are homogenized.
Yeah. You're not gonna find. You imagine going to Japan and I mean, I'm sure there is. I can't say I've never been to Japan, but I mean, I couldn't imagine you could go there for Mexican cuisine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're gonna get a lot of great Japanese food, and you'll see a lot of great Japanese people. But imagine in Japan. This is another thing I was thinking because I just like try to appreciate the things that we do have because I feel like there's a big push. That's one thing. There's so much emphasis and priority in stating and advertising oppression, and so little on valuing freedom.
Yeah.
Like nobody really sticks their neck out and goes, you know what? It's great that things have gotten this far at least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because whether you like it or not, it's better now than it was 100 to 200 years ago.
Yeah, has to be. Yeah.
Like I don't care what you say, dude. I wouldn't even want to.
I don't know who's disagreeing with that. Yeah.
So you take that and you realize, well, shit. We live in a country where anybody can really be president.
Yeah.
You're not going to catch a white guy being the prime minister of Japan or whatever the hell they have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Imagine
Yeah.
that would be wicked weird.
That would be weird.
Like freaking John Smith for president. You know what I mean? Like,
that's true.
Like in Japan. Like that would be like, wait, what?
Yeah, and then I think just people cannot live out there. They can't live outside of their own experience. Which makes logical sense.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, it's psychological sense for sure.
And you're right. We do need to appreciate where we're at right now. But like, the people purporting for like somewhere else is better, socialism is better. Have you ever experienced it before? And is that really the right answer? Is there something else that we could maybe practice? That's the other thing. Is if we were talking about how fast technology has progressed and how little the human race has evolved, like, I don't know if we've come up with the theory or the idea of how to govern people that's better than what we have right now.
Yeah.
It's just that our intelligence is not there.
Well, I think there's way too much energy and time spent into politics.
Yeah.
Politics should be... Damn it, I had a really good theory of what politics should only be.
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing you should really hear about on the news is, like, maybe natural disaster. Like, not even... I don't even know. It's like... Because the thing is, one, you can't fix anything you've heard about on the news.
Yeah.
It's already happened.
Yep.
It's too late. You know what I mean? You could sit there and toil and dwell, get angry, start sweating in front of the TV. Guess what?
That's what a lot of people do, too.
You're not doing shit. You're literally
and
the
then
problem.
post about it on Facebook,
and then post about it. You know what? Fuck these people. Like, I feel like... I think honestly, it was just... I think the only thing the news should really talk about is stocks.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really it. In America...
I wish and
talk about what companies are doing.
I'll say this about the president too, is that I wish that there was a candidate who literally was a robot. Like they got up to the stage at a debate,
it won't be that
and
long.
Showed no opinion, no emotion, and just like started spitting facts.
I know.
That's
but
all
then
it would
they'd
do.
be like, "Are you a Republican or a Democrat?" And it would just so then the robot would have to just... It would have to be like some combination of like some financial economic mogul and philosophical genius.
Yeah. Who just has the same expression on their face.
Yeah.
Like doesn't, like people are attacking him, does not react at all.
No.
Doesn't rebuttal
That's
anything.
right.
Like, this is what I'm going to do. This is why I'm doing it. Like, I'm sure people have a differing opinion on this, and I'm willing to listen to them. And if we can meet somewhere in the middle, like that's what we're going to do. That'd
be really cool. That won't be too far from... It won't be too long from right now, I bet. That would be really crazy. Imagine I mean, honestly, so if things do double, that's how I've come to believe and heard about that technology doubles every year. Mm-hmm. It'll only be until we're 50 till something like that really happens, I bet.
Yeah.
I'm just going to call it right now.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll pull this up in the future.
I hope
like,
so.
Hey, Mike called it.
I really hope so. Yeah.
The first AI to be running for president. And then there's like then there's then that's the divide. It's humans against AI. Because I think that's the biggest another really big problem is fundamentally we have nothing else to compare ourselves to.
Yeah.
Like people on this really, really low wavelength of mental train of thought really compare people based off of how they look towards each other.
Yeah.
But you can't get away from the fact that everybody's human.
Yeah,
so
we're
it's
the
like
same.
you're all one species. No matter what time and age you looked into at one point, no matter who. So a lot of the most aggressive things that happen in human history come from whichever is it society? Mm-hmm. We'll say whatever race has more economic and technological power. We'll just kind of come over and like, you're going to be doing what we want you to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how isn't that like how Egypt was built?
Yeah.
And like that's the Romans did that.
We like how this feels, so you're just going to help us make
just
this
kind
permanent.
Of make these, and then it's like, so it's like at one point, I think what really needs to happen is that like we really do discover another species.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of a big thing that either one, we haven't discovered, or two, the government's doing everything they can to just like shut up. Because there will be, I feel like the us and them, it will be shifted so dramatically.
No, I feel like that's the only thing that unifies us.
So dramatically.
There's another party.
Exactly. Every time they look at them too, I feel like I saw this video of us shooting at some UFO. And it dodged, and they're like, why didn't it attack us back? They didn't understand.
Yeah.
It's like...
we just don't get it.
We're just, like, still in that, like, aggressive state. I wonder how long it will be till humans come to some type of, like... if
just
we ever will. Maybe,
what
if we're always angry and just wanting to...
That's scary, because honestly, like, is there any difference between humans now or the humans existed when Alexander the Great was alive? Dude. Or when like the Roman Empire was at its peak, just conquering everything. Yeah, because if you think
about it, if you dive into it from a philosophical standpoint, the employee, the job, is sort of like this. Obviously, I don't want to compare it to any other form of past slavery, because typically that would include torture and shit. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the main goal was something would be constructed in that wake of that person's actions.
Yeah.
For as long as it can possibly go. Yeah. And you would just give them essentially the bare minimum in a sense. You know what I mean? Like that's a way that society's structured to be so that everybody's just sort of, I think of how many people just settle. And I've been working here for 50 years.
Makes sense. I'm just going to work here for the next 20.
Yeah, I've been working for New Balance. And I've been in accounting.
Yeah.
Like, damn, dude. Like, really?
Yeah.
How long did you say?
That was your dream when you were like 5 years old?
I collect Hot Wheels. Like, dude, that's painful when you meet people like that. You're like, you don't want to say nothing. Oh, okay.
That's interesting, yeah.
You're like, as he's talking, you're backing up. Like, oh nice.
Oh, man.
By the time he's done, you're in your car. You're like, I got to get out of here.
No, I hope there's more to life than that.
Yeah, seriously. Well, I think that's a big thing our generation is noticing.
Yeah.
See, because at one point, fine. The post-industrial age did provide that really secure, like, okay, progressive lifestyle, because a lot of companies were able to, like, give people enough revenue and progressively more to build their families and stuff. But now I feel like a lot of people will settle for, like, I never really dove into this, but the invention of salary.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it. I'm not sure when that happened.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that has a lot to do with the sedentary, chipping away lifestyle, and then before you know it, retire at 65. Like, nobody should be striving to retire at 65.
As a business or a company, I feel like, especially nowadays, is like, you think about how much in taxes you have to pay, how much it takes to, like, start a company, like how much resource it takes. And if you can skimp on something, if you can find ways to decrease your overhead, like, you're going to do it. And so at some point, did these big companies just be like, well, we're paying the employees to keep the business running.
Right.
Is there a way we can just, like, always know what number we're giving them?
Yeah.
Like, there are no raises.
Yeah.
Is like, you're going to make this.
Or planned raises.
Yeah.
Because obviously with inflation, every company starts making more money as time goes on, if they're existing at least, and being even mildly progressive.
Yeah.
So then they can plan on, okay, everything's at that point planned out.
Yeah.
Which is nice, because as somebody who's working as an employee, at least you can count on making that money with little responsibility. Mm-hmm. But depending on how financially proactive and intelligent you are, that could mean a lifetime of service.
Yeah.
And that's, like, not... I think a lot of it, too. Here's what pisses me off. Do you want another beer, by the way?
Yeah, I'll take another one.
I'm thinking, why the fuck in high school did they not teach us more about taxes?
Oh, my God.
Starting a business? I mean, for crying out loud, we're all people who graduated and went to school in the United States of America. You would think there would be some basic knowledge of how to start a business, cooperate, or contact a lawyer. I didn't even know how to get a doctor's appointment, for crying out loud. Never mind your taxes. And it's like, you would think there'd be a lot of emphasis in just high school alone on how to file your taxes, because as soon as you're out, you're an adult.
Yeah.
There's a good chance you'll be making money. I mean, they kind of really go... I feel like the high school experience is, oh, you're definitely going to go to college. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And
it shouldn't have to be.
No, it shouldn't have to be. Though I'm always been an advocate of going to college, but because knowledge is so important. But I don't think it's the only way by any means. I'm not somebody who even has a degree, and I'm doing okay. You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of people who fit that example.
Yeah.
But if you're not teaching people how to file your taxes, I mean, I don't know if, everybody should know this, but if you don't file your taxes, you go to jail.
Yeah.
Like, they'll take you away.
Like, that's your one contribution to society that needs to happen. And, like, it's really, like, the first time that I did it, I mean, I did TurboTax, but I was like, what?
Yeah. I know.
This?
It was killing me.
It's crazy.
I did TurboTax for the first couple of years, too.
Yeah. I wish there was more training. I wish there was more emphasis on trade, too.
Big time. So that's the one thing I was thankful for. I went to a vocational high school.
Okay.
And our class, our shop teacher, taught us for a week. For a week, we didn't do anything on the curriculum. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he stuck his neck out to do this. It was just something he wanted to do on his own with us. But we got to do a week of paper trading. For those of you who don't know what paper trading is, it's like, okay, we used Excel as a medium. to track our progress on every day, and we each got 25 grand. 25 grand paper, like just pretend. So
Okay.
like say back then you invested in Netflix.
Okay.
Okay. So you bought however many shares you wanted, and you tallied up your fake money, and then you've tallied up your fake bought stocks, and then pretty much just with Excel plotted the values at the end of the trading day, each day for that week, and then saw how much money you made from 25 grand in a week. It was a great
That is,
exercise.
like, yeah.
And it took me a while till I really started because I won't say, oh, right out of high school I've been investing, because that certainly isn't the case.
Yeah.
The problem is when you grow up in a non-financially intelligent family, you don't get the benefit of understanding financially intelligent moves at all. So if you are somebody who lives in a family who is not financially intelligent, you'll hear things like credit cards are evil, the stock market's like gambling, and that rich people are evil too. So you got to change your mindset, because anybody can be rich. You just have to put in the work. You have to put in you have to be ambitious.
Yeah.
Because being rich and poor has actually nothing to do with money and everything to do with mindset.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what a lot of people end up lacking is the gumption to do something that has risk.
Yeah.
Because everything you do is going to be risky, but some of it's easier to ignore.
Yeah.
Right? Working the same job for 60 years, it's hard to know the risk.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's the design barrier, is just people don't have access to that information. Nobody's telling them to go after that information.
It's the social structure.
It should be standard knowledge, but like, you know, unless somebody tells you to do it, or you like do your own research, like you're never going to know.
No.
Just like the basis of,
I had to go out and figure my own stuff out. Like ever since I started working at ATI, before it was at NEF.
Yeah.
I mean, I just got off the phone. Shout out to Trevor Dorian, by the way, because he turned me onto a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And if you've never read that book, I highly recommend it. He said to me, the first thing he said to me when he recommended me that book, he said, that book changed my life. And I go, I've heard that a lot, sure. About books. People, that changed my life, sure.
Yeah.
I read the book, and sure as shit, it changed my life.
Yeah.
I really, everything, my entire life seemed to be a little bit of a lie.
Yeah.
A lot of things I considered, because just the social infrastructure of my life was, get a job and save your money.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Don't save your money. Don't spend it on junk.
Dumb
but
stuff,
know the difference between an asset and a liability. Expensive shoes, a watch. It's fine to here's the Jay-Z quote on it. He says, if you can buy 2 of them, you can afford it. Okay, so don't buy something unless you can't buy it twice and be fine financially.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really important.
A good statement, yeah, for sure.
But saving is so bad. And for those of you who don't have a fire under your ass about how bad it is to save, know that every year your money becomes 3% less valuable because of inflation. Mm-hmm. So if you're somebody who's saving your money and not looking at ways to invest it, you're losing your money.
Yeah.
It's going away on nothing. You're literally here's a great way to spend that money. It'd be even more of a payoff. Take the money out of your bank, 3% of it, tear it up and flush it down the toilet. That's a little more satisfying than inflation.
Honestly, yeah.
Because at least you got to do something. It makes you feel like a rebel.
Yeah.
Or you take as much money as you can. Obviously, it's always good to have, savings is really only just to have quick money that you can use in case of an emergency.
An emergency, yeah.
But the rest of your money should be in the stock market, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Especially now. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
With the pandemic.
Like you have to.
Not right now. So when this comes out, I mean, I don't know what will happen when this comes out, but today is, just so for those of you who are listening, today is the 15th. Stock market's doing good. Don't invest when it's high. Use Warren Buffett's method is the best.
Yeah.
Be greedy when Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful.
Yeah.
So in other words, just invest when the stock market's crashing.
Yeah.
You'll be able to know. But in other words, it's always good to start looking into it, because your money just works for you.
Yeah.
Every dollar you put into an investment is a dollar working for you. Money doesn't take vacations.
Yeah.
It doesn't get sick.
It's passive income.
It doesn't sleep.
And that's what everyone wants.
Exactly. for financial freedom. It's not
Yeah.
for everybody. Maybe people don't
Yeah.
want to take that risk.
No, I remember through this pandemic, I was like, so I tried like a couple different platforms to start investing. There was a point where like they wouldn't let you.
Oh, I heard about that.
Like
they stopped trade.
Acorns and Cash App. Like I was trying to put money into, like, of course, if everybody's sitting at home, like Amazon is gonna go through the roof.
Yeah.
And I was trying so hard to put money in it, and they were just like, they kept giving it back to me. They were like, no,
Dude,
it's
can
too
you believe
volatile.
Tesla went down to $300 in March? For those
Could
of you
you
who don't know,
imagine? Yeah.
Tesla's at $1,500. You know how many people's lives would be changed if they just opened up an account and then put all of their money into it?
Into
and then,
Tesla.
Into Tesla? I mean, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Risk, that's taking high risk. But there's high payoff. The higher the risk, the higher the payoff.
Yeah.
Or the higher the damage. But the thing is, you don't really lose until you sell.
For sure.
That's what a lot of people were saying back then, and I had at the time.
And what else are you going to do with that $300?
Dude, during the pandemic stock crash, I had all my money in the stock market.
Yeah.
They didn't sell. I'm like, here's two things that happened. So if you're really, really worried and you're trying to figure out how you can convince yourself to invest, here's two things. One, the stock market always goes up. Two, if it ever crashes to the point where it just goes away, your money's worthless anyways. It's the United States stock market. It's going to control how valuable the dollar is anyways.
Yeah.
If it's down to zero, or say in some dystopian future, it just collapses. Your money's not going to be worth anything. It's going to be like Germany prior to Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
It's going to be like you can spend $30,000 to get a loaf of bread. You know what I mean? Like that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So those are your options.
Yeah. So put it in there. Forget about it.
It's just
sell.
smart too. It's just smart too. I never come across any information saying otherwise. There's many ways to invest. You could invest in companies that you know. You can invest with friends into companies you guys build.
Yeah.
Real estate's a great way to invest. But don't just save your money, because what will happen is it will pile up to the point where you'll look at it and go, I could buy something that I might want, and it could fuel desire, and that's the point. And sometimes desire is not always within your best interest.
Yeah. Very smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Do you invest at all?
I put nickels and dimes into a couple places.
Yeah. Do you have Acorns?
Have Acorns, so that takes a little bit out of my account every month. I honestly haven't checked it.
It just invests on its own. How does that work? I haven't used Acorns.
So it's a subscription service. The service itself is only $1.
Yeah.
But depending on what tier you're at, so like you could have it take out $5 every 2 weeks, every month if you want. And it will create a profile for you based on your interest, based on what you buy.
Yeah.
And it'll put it into it'll start buying like little parts of stock.
Yeah.
Without you even looking at it. So like, for example, I think I put like $17 in it. And I looked at it maybe a month ago. No, I'll use this example. I looked at it 3 months ago, and it said I had $12.
Yeah.
I looked at it a month ago, and it said I had $25.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
stock market's going way up.
Yeah, it's really easy. There's a setting on it where you can have it do keep the change, so every time you make a purchase,
where
it will
does it
round
put
up.
the money? Like, where does it invest it into? Do you select the companies or ETFs that it goes into, or does it just kind of invest?
You can.
Okay.
Or, like I said, it will create a profile based on your purchases.
Okay.
So, like I was saying, it has a keep the change function. So, like, every dollar that you spend, if there's change, it rounds up and it just puts it in the account.
Gotcha.
Based on what you're buying, like, let's say I bought, like, toothpaste.
Yeah.
This is just an example. I bought Colgate. I bought Colgate toothpaste 4 times this month.
No kidding.
Oh, this kid really likes toothpaste?
Yeah.
This is an example.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
It's like, what is going on, bro?
I bought Colgate toothpaste 4 times this month. This kid really likes Colgate. Let's put some money into Colgate.
Yeah.
So it'll do that.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
So it kind of knows what you're buying and will invest in it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. And then Cash App is the other one, which I use all the time. It now has an investing platform.
Oh, what?
And that one you can pick. So let's say you go out to dinner and somebody Cash Apps you $25 to pay for half the dinner.
Yeah.
You can take 15 of those dollars and put it into Nike if you want to.
That's awesome.
And it'll give you a fraction of a share or
That's
whatever.
Awesome.
And you can build up your profile. You can build up your portfolio.
Here's the thing. Invest, too, in things that you know about. I can't tell you how rewarding it is when you pay attention to what you're invested in. Because here's the thing. We just invest and it's all these light terms like, oh yeah, I have stocks. No. You are if you have stocks, you're an owner of that company.
Yeah.
I mean,
technically, yeah.
It's like
you might have 0.001 of a...
You don't have enough within the company to start making any kind of decisions. But if you were somebody and put like $10 billion into Apple, you might not be living where you do now. You'd probably be in Silicon Valley doing what you got to do because you just bought most of Apple. But my point is, you are an owner of that company. Like for instance, I have a Roth IRA, and even on Robinhood, they'll send me emails like, oh, hey, they have a meeting.
Yeah.
Whatever company that I'm invested in, it needs approval from its shareholders. I've been asked to fill out a couple surveys via email because they were making decisions on like upper management for the company.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no
that's
way.
Cool.
You know what I mean? Just very, very like questionnaire type of, like they were trying to get a consensus just so that they keep the shareholders involved. Another really cool thing about stocks, and this is again just for people who don't know, a lot of stocks have dividends. And what a dividend is a percentage of what that stock is worth you get back in every quarter of the year based off of the company's earnings.
Wow.
So you buy one share, we'll keep it very simple, one share of a stock that's worth $100, and the dividend is 1%. At the end of 3 months, based off of the earnings, and they could go higher or lower, you get $1, which obviously $100, $1, that's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if you had roughly 50 grand, and that's not really that much, it's probably the average of what somebody might make in a year. 50 grand in the stock market might yield you close to 5 grand every month. You know what I mean? Or like 2 grand or something like that. And that's not bad money on the side for nothing. Literally doing nothing.
Yeah.
You got to trust that these companies do their things. But that's kind of back to what we were talking about before and how important it is to have people around you who know these things. And I think that's what people in these isolated communities or from families who aren't as financially adequate don't have, is that social infrastructure where everybody's investing or doing something. Your network is inevitably always your net worth. That's what's going to determine how far you get in life. You know what I mean? It's super important. Otherwise, you just get stuck in your ways. There's nobody around to challenge you.
Stuck with your No, I like that a lot. Is like your power is in the people that you know.
Yeah.
The more people you interact with, the more knowledge you're going to gain.
Being rich has nothing to do with money and everything to do with mindset and gumption, aptitude.
And so if we interact more, we evolved. It's better for everyone.
And true interaction.
Yes.
So that's the thing. Back to that.
Not just like, hey, internet. How's it going?
Look at how much shit gets stirred up because everybody's 6 feet tall, 300 pounds muscle in the comments section. You know what I mean? Like everybody will just say like really ridiculous things towards each other and try to put hate out with hate. Like when I had John Wash on, he's like, no, man, love's the answer. Because if you really think about it, nobody's going to change their mind in the comments section.
No one. Yeah.
Why would you even spin your wheels?
Don't even engage.
That's
been a rule of mine for a long time. Like
in the beginning, I shared a few articles. I never got into the pandemic. I never got into debates, but I'd share some articles. Like I remember seeing like some doctors in California talking about, in other words, it was just positive things like, hey, take care of your immune system. It's not as bad as you think, that type of stuff. Yeah. And I know maybe that's not good, but I've always tried to look at the bright side of things because it's really hard to live in dystopian, like a dystopian world for me.
You're negative all the time.
Like everyone's gonna die.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like you're all screwed. Just fucking give up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I just can't live like that.
For
it's
sure.
really hard. You know what I mean. I'll look for any way to, just live until
people
I die.
Get comfortable in negativity.
Yeah, man.
I don't know what's attractive about it, but like. Yeah, for a lot of people, that just feels better to them. It's just to be negative. If I can tear somebody down and bring them down with me, like that just warms my heart.
Don't you know it's dangerous and you'll die?
Yeah.
How dare you?
And we can't.
And it's become a religion.
It's crazy.
Like if you look at how it's really
absolutely.
Like I don't have any problem with anything that anybody's saying really? Like as far as like the evidence and the research and all these different collective things that are truly done from a non-biased standpoint. But when you're really looking at it, a lot of the times these things are like conducted like they're religion.
Yeah.
You're a blasphemer. How dare you question that?
Yeah.
How dare you ask if it's bad?
Yeah, you have a multitude of people behind you who are supporting the same opinion.
Yeah.
You all have to post the same things.
It gets culty.
It's crazy.
If you're not somebody,
it's crazy. And so to your point, I did not post anything for that very reason.
Smart man.
I felt the same emotions like when all of this was happening with the pandemic, with George Floyd, and now I guess like this child trafficking thing that's popping up.
What's up with that? Dude, I wish we had our internet guy. Where's Jamie doing? We need him.
I have not posted a thing because I
feel like the child trafficking thing's going to reunite people, though.
Yeah.
I think everybody hates that.
How
do you not?
Are you really going to argue?
Who's pro pedophilia? And they're really trying to they're really trying to incorporate it into society. So about 6 years ago, I thought it was recently, to correct myself on that, like 6 years ago, there was a fucking TED Talk on how pedophilia is now a sexual orientation.
No
okay,
way.
Well, murdering people is a hobby.
Yeah.
I feel like there are more reasons in which I would think of murdering somebody legitimately than molesting a child.
Yeah.
Like there's just way more reasons. How could you? What? Sexual orientation? Like what?
And that just goes back. Like what is right, and what is wrong. Like,
right.
Like how do you find any base to argue with like the wrong way is the right way?
I know.
Nobody can speak out about that. But just to that point, the way people are using it is that they're comparing it to the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm not going to say whether that's right or wrong, but
what are they comparing that to?
So they're I forget the case that they're speaking about, but they're using some of the same hashtags that the BLM movement was using for George Floyd.
The Save the Children one?
Yeah, like say his name and thing like that.
Oh wow.
That is, if you are arguing at all, on the perspective that like, the police need to be protected too. We need to consider whether or not their lives matter. Like, don't do that. Like, that's going to be as divisive. Like, you just saw how divisive the Black Lives Matter movement was with that particular case. Don't do the same thing.
Oh, with Cannon?
Yeah.
With that, that's what I'm saying. They did the same thing. It's like how long are we going to just go black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white? It's like don't start that
case
again.
after case, and like everybody is saying that like this year, everything is bad. Like it's just thing after thing after thing after thing. Like we got to, at some point during this year or in the next year, like we just all need to sit down and just be like, okay, whatever it is that we're doing, all of the arguments, all of the debates, it's not working. It's not. You're not proving your point.
Right.
You're not changing anyone's mind.
No.
All it is creating more chaos.
Exactly. And more division, more segregation.
Yeah.
A house divided will not stand. And it's definitely within. And here's the thing here, and this is probably a conspiracy, but I believe it to be very true.
Yeah.
And that the main purpose of the media is to divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Because imagine if we were all on the same page. Imagine how much could get done.
Yeah.
How much would not end up happening.
Yeah.
So media itself would probably change in the same way that we're talking about it. The only thing we really, as people, want to know is probably the success of companies and maybe a few like natural disasters. Like, okay, we were looking at...
And so that's what we should be demanding.
In other words, here's to simplify what I think the media should do. Never fucking talk about politics. It should be illegal for the media to talk about politics. I really do. Because what they're doing, I really do. Think about that. Think about how many people are being completely just brainwashed.
Their entire identities is determined by what news outlet they follow.
Yeah, like, oh, you listen to CNN? Oh, you listen to Fox?
Yeah.
You must be a Republican.
And you've created, like, that is how you're going to vote. That's what you're going to post on Facebook.
Yep.
Those are the people you're going to talk to. You're now not going to interact with the other side because they...
You hear... exactly. Imagine how dismissive you'd be towards some, like, say you're somebody who avidly listened to Fox and you heard somebody was listening to CNN.
Yeah.
That's extremely dismissive. I mean, both to me. I mean, you're thinking like, dude, they're both just, they're doing this to your brain.
Yeah.
Look, I made a snake. You know what I mean,
absolutely.
Dude? Like the first thing you do when you get played out, you just go, yes.
You can make it however you want. Yeah, and you're giving these people too much power.
It should be. There should be an act to just abolish any type of political debate on the media. The only time, in my opinion, that they should publicize the election year, and when there's people running, and when you can vote. Let us know when we can vote. Let us know maybe simply who we can vote for without bias.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And then just direct us to what their platform is.
Yeah.
Let us make our own decisions.
Hey, go follow John Brown at johnbrown.com, and you can find out what he's about.
Yep.
Like they're just way too manipulative, and then that's where that divide starts. That's where people's opinions go. Okay, so I really believe in this and these opinions.
Yeah.
And then if somebody believes in these opinions, I don't know.
Yeah. Or these policies are going to make my life better. I believe they're for the greatest good, so this is who I'm going to vote for.
Right, and people might even shift. That's even crazier.
Yeah.
People might even shift some of their opinions, even though, like, for instance, say if you're somebody who's mildly conservative, and then, but you are never against the legalization of marijuana or the freedom of choice for a woman to give abortions, you might even switch that and go, you know what, maybe marijuana should be illegal, maybe people shouldn't have the right to get an abortion. And then all of a sudden you're going against the progressive collective experience of humanity. It's so hard to progress at that point because you're being convinced that you should stay in these archaic trains of thought. Like, let's just stick with these
just based on this guy who's like talking to you through a screen.
And the reality is we should always
that
be.
Makes sense.
You know what I mean? We should always be more in the middle. I mean, I think most people. I think at heart most people are, but they're convinced they're on a side by the media.
I mean that's how adaptation works, right? Talking about like even our field is that if you repeat something over and over and over and over again, your body is going to adapt to that stimulus. And your brain is essentially the control center. It is still a muscle.
Yep.
And I wholeheartedly believe that it can be molded is if you continue to think about the same thing or you're fed the same information over and over and over again. Yeah. Those signals are going to start to get created.
It's like Pavlov's theory.
Yeah. Now that is your opinion.
Every time you hear somebody say, I don't like masks. You're a conservative Republican.
Oh my goodness! Just like think of like a statement that like you can physically feel a reaction to it. Like your forehead gets sweater, you get a little heated. Like you feel like you need to speak out.
Physically, you start to show.
No,
change.
I absolutely think that's trained into people nowadays.
Big time.
Yeah.
It's programming, folks. It's programming.
Yeah.
Everything's programming. Even this, in a sense, though a lot of it's like. There's some programming that encourages free thought, though. Yeah. Questioning things.
There's nothing wrong with the sharing of information.
Right.
There needs to be more platforms like this with like people having discussions about a topic. Maybe even the opinions are different.
Yeah.
And then you make your own decision.
Right.
Like it can't be like, a big TV screen. There's a person from CNN, there's a person from Fox News.
I know.
The Fox News person won't let the person from CNN speak, so the CNN person is now yelling over the Fox News person. Like that's just going to create like an emotional response.
Immediately.
Like, you're seeing two people yell at each other. Like,
yes, dude.
You know what I mean?
And emotion always loses. Mm-hmm. Like as much as I was for
there's no logic
speaking out on like behalf of what happened to George Floyd, like some of the protests were reasonable.
Yeah.
I think protesting is always reasonable. It's laughable to think that the media can ever, you know how they were saying it's okay to protest? You don't have the right to say if it's okay or not.
Yeah.
We protest whenever the fuck we want.
Regardless of what you
That's
say. Yeah.
America. Hey,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to protest
You're
right
not
now.
going to determine my actions.
I'm going to protest right now and right here. You know what I mean? Like, there's no, oh, protesting's over at 9, folks. Come back at 8 tomorrow. You know, like,
Absolutely.
no. Protesting happens. The rioting, I wasn't so behind. At first, I was like, because when you really watch that video, it fucks you up a little bit.
Same thing.
You know, but it's just, the thing is, they were hurting people who had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
When you riot.
Yeah, there was a certain point where, like, they were attacking small businesses.
People.
That maybe couldn't recover from these things in the middle of a pandemic.
They were
already hurting.
Yeah, they were already down.
For sure. But, like, I understand the feeling, but we're now talking about that. Is that, like,
the emotion.
There is no logic in emotion.
No. Emotional responses always lose.
Yeah.
Like, if you think at the end of this year there's going to be less laws, you're wrong.
Yeah.
There's going to be less laws and more cops in those areas now.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest issue, is like all these things are done to alleviate police tension and aggression and brutality.
Yeah.
And it just very well, and that's the weirdest thing too, because you'll see a lot of people advocate, how do I put this? They advocate, it's like the same people on that spectrum who want to get rid of it will side more with policies or organizations that are government run.
Yeah.
But inevitably, the government's the one making the rules and the laws that get people in trouble in the first place.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I always laugh about. Even, you know, they'll be like, oh, they'll blame capitalism because they get taxed or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, capitalism didn't tax you.
Yeah.
The government did.
The government. Yeah.
The government doesn't function on a capitalistic basis. You know what I mean? They benefit from capitalism, but there's hints of socialism, and I think there always should be, again, like our opinions collectively.
For sure.
There should be both entities active.
Yeah.
One maybe less or more than the other.
I think there's a point to that, is that, like, really nowhere else in the world is there this much diversity.
Yeah.
This many groupings of people
Religions.
from different backgrounds,
Yeah.
religions, race,
Yeah.
just overall culture. TikTok, right? I'm going to use TikTok as an example.
I love TikTok.
Think about how much creative
I'm
content
afraid to
is
say
on
it.
there. Like, it's going to thrive in a country like this because you see how much culture can be created from so many different perspectives, that, like, it is naive to think that the government is not a result of that. Is that, like, we do have social programs in place that are used in other countries, probably not to the same extent. Capitalism is also how the government works, where it creates funding for some of these social programs.
Right.
So if you're against capitalism, like, where is the money coming from to feed all of these people, or to institute all of these programs? Is like, I just feel like nowhere else in the world is this possible. We would not have been able to progress as much as we have in somewhere like China or Taiwan.
Well, that's why I don't like the bashing of rich people. Like, some people, they should be, put in their place.
Yeah.
But there was recently, I forget when, but like Elon Musk was taxed like $12 billion. Let me check Joe Rogan's Instagram really quick. Sorry, folks.
Yes.
I want to just get this number right, because there's a really good example to follow this. And you got to think of the difference between, Elon Musk and the government. Who do you think would be better off? Okay, it was Elon Musk was taxed $27.5 billion.
Wow.
Who would you rather have $27.5 million? The government or Elon Musk? So in one instance, it's good that the government has the money, but are they going to do what you want them to do with it?
Yeah.
Because half the time, and I think most of the money, just like and I have nothing against religion or Christianity, but in the same way, a lot of people in the church benefit too greatly off of the public. So what they're doing is just to give when you stoop to that level. Same as government. You are a servant now to the people.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be flying in your own jet.
Yes.
You should be paving the roads, making sure there's plenty of recreation and conservation systems to keep the environment intact, and that there's first responders, essentially.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Speckle then on some smaller organizations that help people do what they need to, schools and whatnot. The fact of the matter is that they're not losing money. They just don't know how to fucking spend it.
Yeah.
And so when you take that kind of money away from a super genius, I don't care who it is. I'm not defending Elon Musk by any chance. But anybody who comes around the corner who has the ability to send rockets to space and have them land on their own, and cars that can drive themselves, you kind of wonder, well,
You're stifling progression.
Maybe he should have that money because he's going to know what to do with it. I mean, if we really want to become a more, sophisticated and advanced society, because at the end of the day, I mean, between Neuralink and all the other things he's coming out with, it's like, I kind of would rather he do that with the money.
That's what I want. I think that's where I wholeheartedly, when I was like 12 years old, thought we would be there already.
I think there was a quote that said, if Henry Ford was alive today, he'd be upset we still use wheels.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I just think that we stifle our own progress in a lot of ways, socially, economically.
Is it Henry Ford or Harrison Ford?
Henry Ford.
Henry Ford.
Yeah. I just have always fought for progress.
Yeah.
Even what I do now, like the progression of an individual in front of me, it's
like what we were talking about. If you're not going forward, where are you going?
Yeah.
Like so say you make the same amount of money this year as you did last year, and then the year after that, and then the year after that, and the year after that.
It's disheartening. That's what that is. Yeah.
It's a long, boring. It's a short life, really, because if you don't have memories in between, that's another one of those things that really defines if somebody is rich or poor. And when it comes down to mindset, if you're somebody who goes, "Oh, life is short," it's probably not a good mentality, because if you recognize that life is long, you want to also recognize that it is temporary too.
Yes.
So you have plenty of time to do what you want to do. So go do it.
Yeah.
And have fun doing it, because it doesn't really matter.
You have to.
You're gonna die.
Yeah.
Just do what you got to do. Do what you want to do.
That sounds.
It's not even. It's kind of an enlightening thing when you really, really, really fundamentally believe that life is temporary, and you recognize that it's temporary. You end up taking more chances and doing the things that you've been waiting to doing. You know, because I think that's another issue with a lot of people is they take life too seriously. Oh, I don't want to take that risk.
Yeah.
Because anything to push people to taking risks, I think, is super important. Because that's what inevitably progresses you.
Yeah, I think that's like the one good thing that's come out of this pandemic is like, for a lot of us, is I probably was getting a little bit too comfortable.
Yeah.
And becoming naive in the fact that like life is going to end.
Yeah.
Like I was just going through the motion.
Yeah.
And with this pandemic, you have a new appreciation for the life that we had. And so all I've been doing during this pandemic is just like everything that was on the list, like my big to-do list, certifications, knowledge that I wanted, maybe pursuing more degrees. Like I've started to attack that. And I'm trying to get that done like as soon as possible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I was saying, like I want to be a jack of all trades. I want to better myself. I want to be like whatever it is that I'm doing. I consider myself multifaceted, but I want to be the most knowledgeable on that topic. And I'm just going to pursue that.
You're very, like, what's the word? From the time that I've known you and worked with you, you're very to yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I've always felt like you're very like you just.
And I can. So I do that on purpose. I don't think that it's a flaw.
No, it's not a flaw.
Yeah.
Because listening is always going to be better.
Yeah.
Being a student of life.
And that's what I do in any environment is like when I'm in a new environment, the first thing that I'm going to do is observe. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
I just want to listen to people.
Absorb.
I want to learn what their personalities are. I want to interact with them. And then once I do that, once I know who you are, I can then speak to you. Like on your level,
that's smart.
Figure out what ideas that we both agree on, and just speak to that. Like create like a very positive relationship between the both of us, and like just because that's how I believe true impact is made. Like if I'm gonna apply it to what we both do in the fitness industry, the client is gonna determine everything that you do.
Yeah.
Like where they are now.
Yep.
Maybe they can't do a squat.
Right.
Maybe they've never interacted.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It's the client who really decides what kind of happens fundamentally.
Yeah, they're the real rock stars.
Yeah.
You're not. I've never respected a coach.
And speaking on behalf of the fitness industry now too, folks.
I've never respected a coach that like has an idea in their head about what works. Like
this one thing.
Yep. You have to deadlift. You have to do this many reps. Like bodybuilding is the way to lose weight. Like you have to do you have to do this amount of cardio. There are people out there who have never played a sport.
Yep.
They've never done anything like at a high physical intensity, and for you to throw them into that setting is just going to make them quit because you didn't meet them where they're at. And
exactly.
And
that's such a good point.
Yeah, and that's why I'm thankful for my experience is that I didn't take the traditional route to this job. Is that I started in something like English where it was just critical thinking, reading and absorbing information. I've worked in politics. I've worked with social organizations.
Yeah.
And
my
main goal is to create impact and make sure that the human race is progressing, like evolving.
Nice.
I want more for everyone.
Yeah.
And then just fitness is just where I fell, and I felt like I could create the most impact. I didn't expect to fall in love with it as much as I did.
Dude, that's a really cool way to set out, man.
Yeah, for sure. So, that's why I put.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's why I put so much work into it, and
yeah,
like
I said.
I'll
I'll introduce it when we finish up. But you're definitely worth checking out on Instagram too, just to people stay up to date.
And so fitness is where I landed, and that's where I found where I'm in front of a person. They do something that they thought they never could do before.
Never do, yeah.
And I love the look on their faces. I love their reaction. And maybe I created some kind of positive impact in their life.
Isn't it so funny how just simply teaching people how to use their body changes their lives? Yeah. Because that's really fundamentally what
Absolutely.
it is. You're just,
sure.
Hey, this is how your body works.
Yeah.
Once people get into a better rhythm of using their body, they don't all have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger at the end of the day. But if they can move like they haven't moved before and feel in a way that they haven't felt before, you've already done it. They've already made one of the greatest accomplishments they can for themselves.
You've unlocked something cognitively, because it is the brain that moves the body.
Yeah.
And so if you can create a new signal for them, they're going to be thankful for that, and maybe they go on to try something else that they haven't done before.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's just one more thing. What was I thinking? I wanted to touch on that when we were talking back about I think it was just the high school, college, and traveling experiences. That new experiences help your brain grow.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's an age cap to this. I do know that the brain fully develops after the age of like 25, 26, maybe even 28 or till you're 30.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a lot of proactive development that happens in the mind when you do new things and you submit yourself to new situations and new environments. And there's really, I don't think there's enough emphasis in society to try new things.
Yeah.
That's one thing that is unfortunately very integrated into a lot of different American cultures, even as diverse as we are, is that not many people have that much encouragement to try new things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people in this country are not multilingual.
No.
Bilingual. It's very uncommon to see that.
It's a very set in their ways country.
Yeah.
Is that like you find a system that you fit into, and you get comfortable there, and you get stagnant there, and like that's what you're used to. Like, this is my life. I'm just gonna do this for the next 20 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy, dude?
And that's crazy. That's 20 years of the only life that you have.
Oh, my God.
You know what I mean? I feel like maybe that's why people are so angry at this pandemic, is that, like, at least I feel this way, is that I've kind of lost time.
Yeah. Well, you said you were taking advantage of it, though.
Yeah, yeah.
And
For sure.
I think, though, I resonate with that, though, because there's probably a lot of people. And that was my biggest fear, because I was like, I don't know what's going to happen with this, but I made sure that I made moves.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I want to do is talk about the 2020 pandemic. It's like, well, I was inside all day.
Yeah.
3 months straight.
For 3 months.
3
Didn't
months.
do anything.
Didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
Watch the news. Spit on the TV for 3 months.
Yeah.
Do you need to go to the bathroom, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah, go to the bathroom.
All right, cool.
We'll come right back.
All right, cool.
I need to go too. All right. Never had I had to pee more in my entire life. These.
Yeah, the bladder was full.
I blame it on Corona, beer.
Seems to be a
Crickets.
theme.
Nobody laughs at that.
Yeah.
It's not funny. It's not funny.
Jeez.
I know. Yeah, dude. What got you started into fitness anyways? I mean, I shouldn't say that. When did you start? Like, where did you start? Because you just told us why you started.
Okay.
Because was that the first job you had when you were at Best?
So I worked. Okay, so I had an internship at a really small studio in the Berkshires.
No way. Did you live in the Berkshires?
Yeah, for like a hot second.
You had your own business?
No.
Oh, okay.
So this was somebody else's business, and I just interned for it.
Okay.
And then like I took like a couple athletes on the side.
Yep.
And maybe trained them for I don't know, like a couple months. And then my first job was at Club Fitness in Chicopee.
Gotcha.
I got the Club Fitness in Chicopee job and the Best Fitness job basically at the same time.
Club Fitness in East Long Meadow?
In Chicopee.
In Chicopee, okay.
Yeah. And
I don't think there's one in East Long Meadow.
Yeah, I really what brought me over to Best was that they paid you for that.
That they paid you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they paid you minimum wage for like the apprenticeship. Yeah.
The fitness industry is great, but getting paid is hard.
Yeah. You have to work for every single dollar.
I think half the time that I was at Best for those 2 years, I was not paid.
Yeah.
And I'm not claiming to be a victim. I'm just making sure people recognize that there is sacrifice in making yourself not only good at it, but known for it.
Yeah.
And that's really where, again, as much as you know better than I, because you've actually worked there longer than me.
Yeah.
That place is it's tough.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very tough.
I mean, it's reflective of how you would do it if you were on your own. Like if you don't have people paying you, you're not generating revenue, then no, you're not making any money. And it was a good experience for me. I can honestly say I've never worked. Maybe I've worked a little harder, but I've never worked longer.
Well, the optimist
in
me, even when I left, as happy as I was. What a glorious day that was, by the way. Remember that? I threw my name tag under the vent.
Yeah.
It's probably still up there.
Yeah.
I still, not only in my resignation email, but personally, I know the value of what I gained.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with money, really. It was all an experience. Because, let's be honest, I was terrible. Again, we were talking imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like, I had it so bad there. I really felt like I was not supposed to be a strength and a fitness professional.
Yes.
There at all. I just, every time the meetings, we'd have weekly meetings there, and I just really felt out of place.
Yeah.
Like every single time, and rightfully so. I got hired. I know I got hired. Josh hired me for financial purposes.
Okay.
Like, they knew that, okay, this is just another ambitious person, because he had me do a mock training with him for a client with bad knees. And the coach in me now kills me to think about the things I had him do. Like, oh, you had bad knees? He goes, where should I put my weight? On my toes or on my heels? I go, on your toes. When he's doing a squat. Okay. And then I'm like, okay. He goes, oh, that still hurts. So I had him just come off. I'm like, okay, let's go over to the quad different. Extensions, dude. I had to do. I'm like, oh no. Oh, they let me learn. In other words, they employed me. They let me learn.
Yeah.
Because I dropped it all. I would have been a painter to this day if I didn't change that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dylan Benavides. He was my friend who told me about the NASM search, and that's who I was like, and that's That's when I was like, as we were painting, because me and him were working at the same job at the same time, and he was interested. We were both really into fitness. I mean, if you're into fitness at some point in your life, the only good thing that I mean, the really easy way to really get into it, and if you are somebody who got into it this way, it's probably a good sign that you were somebody who avidly worked out prior, whether it was for athletic purposes or bodybuilding purposes or physically therapeutic purposes.
Yeah.
It's really important that you were obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Because I at least could apply what I've done to myself for years prior as a foundation to the knowledge that I would later gain.
Kinetic intelligence is definitely a thing. And
what's that called?
Kinetic intelligence.
Okay, so that's,
Yeah.
I love that.
There are multiple types of intelligence, and there's some people who are just good with their bodies, is that those signals are very strong.
Yeah.
And you love to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels good. It releases endorphins when you lift weights. There are people who do not like exercise.
Yeah.
They just, like, it causes them pain, or it doesn't bring them any joy.
Yeah.
But there are some of us who, are sadists in that way, is that pain releases
it makes you feel alive. It's like breathing in cold air. It's like feeling air in your lungs.
Yeah.
It's like feeling that your body is moving.
Yeah, It's
difficult to generate pleasure from that, though.
Yeah.
I can see in the instance that you're suggesting, when people have been sedentary for 50 fucking years.
Yeah.
And that's, it's never too late, folks. But damn, like, it's if you're even in your 20s right now and you're somebody who doesn't exercise, like in our age group, get to it.
Do something
because you're going to be, and it's not to be better. It's not a thing of judgment. It's a thing of medical bills.
Yeah.
If you want to look at it in a stance that you might understand, is that understanding that it's going to cost you a lot of money if you don't take care of yourself.
Yeah. It's just our society is built for you to stay put. And if you do that,
you don't have to go and break your. You don't have to leave the house to make money anymore.
Yeah.
Or you could literally go somewhere else and sit down and make a lot of money.
Literally, there are a lot of jobs you could get where you can work from home now.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking of. Any sit-down job that requires a computer, why do they even have offices? If I was like the CEO of some insurance company, I would just
you guys
we're
can
selling
go
our
home.
buildings.
Yeah.
Just work from home.
Yeah.
Like what? I mean, maybe obviously I'm not a CEO of a fucking insurance company. Maybe there's some reason to having people inside of a very large 25-story building. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the point is, and a positive factor to the fitness industry of all sorts, whether you're teaching yoga, whether you're a fitness professional, whether you're a coach, whether you're a physical therapist, one of the greatest values of that job, I forget who I was talking to about this, but I was really, really just appreciative and feeling a lot of gratitude for it, was that it's a job where you're not sitting or standing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't go through any physical pain throughout the day.
Yeah.
And I think if you were sitting all day or standing in one place all day, it would be extremely uncomfortable. It's a very comfortable job because you're always moving.
Yep. I worked retail before this.
Yeah.
I developed a lot of ankle issues, a lot of Achilles issues, a lot of knee issues.
Standing in one place is just as bad as sitting, folks. So if you're at a sit-down thing and you're thinking you could just stand up, no, walk around.
Yeah,
and
even to speak to the pandemic, just because it's like one of the more relevant topics that's affecting all of us. The first time I lifted, when we were allowed to go back in the gym, like instant back pain, instant knee pain.
Really?
And that's because generally, I lost motivation to do anything during it.
How come you have so much back and knee pain and stuff? Did you do powerlifting at one point or something?
So that's kind of how I'm not so imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Well, you can self-diagnose. Nobody can tell you otherwise.
Yeah, so it was just because I was sedentary for the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Is that, like, there was no reason for my brain to use my posterior muscles.
Yeah.
And so the first time that I went to lift a weight, those muscles were not working.
So you just had to use, like, relative flexibility, essentially.
Yeah, so, it wasn't there, and the muscles that did work caused me pain. So that's mostly what it is. Yeah, I would say the way I'm training right now is powerlifting because I've just never dedicated time to building strength, and I want it. Like I want strength so that I can do other things. I've always been a performance guy, and that's from my football background.
Yeah, how long did you play football for? I didn't know you played football.
I played up until my first year of college.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Damn.
So it was a big part of my life, and I will say, like...
Did you ever wrestle? I feel like you'd be good at wrestling.
I didn't. My defensive coordinator in high school really tried to get me into wrestling.
I was gonna say, you look like you'd be good. You have longer arms,
Yeah.
I had the same thing happen to me when I was in high school. And I hate to say that I regret it because that's just so sad.
Yeah.
But I do know I would be very good at it because I'm very strong for my weight and my size.
Yeah.
Compared to other people who are my weight and my size.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw that in me because I would, in high school, participate in weightlifting, which was this off-season football training program that happened during the school year.
Yeah.
So once football was over, there was
we had a class
weightlifting.
Yeah.
And I would do that after school every time it was happening. I think it was only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but I still would always go. Same in the summer. When it was summertime, we had an athletic. There was a football athletic training course every Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay.
Like at noon.
Yeah.
And I would always go to that as well. And the wrestling coach, because our vocational school had a wrestling team, always was like, you should try it. You should try it. And I never did. I should have. I have a lot of friends who are into jiu-jitsu and stuff too that I wish which I feel like I'd be pretty good.
Something that's always interested me.
Yeah.
Yeah, BJJ or even MMA.
There's a lot of places around here. Not right now. It's tough. But
yeah.
That's the thing, man. It's so hard for so many industries to do things right now.
Yeah, I think that life as we know it has changed.
I hate to say that.
Like
I feel
permanently.
the same way.
I think that like even when, whether or not you're going to take it, even when there's a vaccine and we're back to some kind of normalcy, I think that there are a lot of industries that are going to pivot the way they've been operating. I think that like people are very malleable. I think that a lot of people have decided that like just speaking specifically to fitness, that like the home thing is working.
Yeah.
There are so many people building home gyms and they're just going to hire an online coach. I think that's what this industry is moving to.
I actually agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, there's two theories of mine. That one of them, it will become that is more of an online presence.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say presence. An online utility of personal training.
Yeah.
And secondarily, that gyms will become less and less favored.
Yes.
Though I feel like more and more people will actually like places like that you were working and I'm working right now.
And
because
absolutely.
It's consolidated, controlled, and it's clean.
I think that's the new future.
You're just working.
That,
training is just with a professional now.
Yeah, I think private facilities are going to thrive moving forward. I think that hybrid programs are going to become the norm. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Closer to the mic.
You had a good point there.
Yeah.
I don't know how to.
There's a podcast that I listen to where like there's a third person that's just like working in the background, and like the running theme of the podcast is they're always telling that person closer to the mic, closer to the mic. And I told myself in my head, I'm not going to do that here. You literally said it to me like 8 times. Yeah.
No, dude, it's okay. It's okay.
But yeah.
I play Xbox a lot, so I'm always in my mic. Do you ever play Xbox? Do you have any?
I don't. I have a Switch.
You're smart.
Yeah, I have a Switch.
It's a waste of time.
I know.
I don't play it.
I know, but it's
ever since the
addictive.
podcast. It helps your brain kind of turn off.
Yeah, and that's why I picked it up. That's really the only
How is the Switch? I've never had one.
It's fine. So the two games that I play are Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
Amazing game, very pretty. And then Fortnite.
Now you got me going. You play Fortnite on the Switch? It's on the Switch?
Yeah, it is on the Switch.
I'd be more of a Smash Bros guy.
Yeah.
I'd be a Smash Bros.
I play Smash Bros every now and then. Yeah. Fortnite is very fun. It's very annoying.
Yeah.
Because their demographic is like very, very, very young.
Yeah. You're competing with people who have all the time in the world. They're the wealthiest people in the world, really, as little kids, because they
don't do anything else.
Years of time.
Yeah.
They're 15 years old. Imagine being 15 years old with the knowledge you have now.
Yeah.
10 years till you're 25. What kind of things would you take advantage of?
Yeah. They all want to be professional gamers, too. Because that's like a big thing now, is they all want to get into e-gaming. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It took me years till I set something like this up, and I've always been into video and stuff. Like, I have a vlog channel that never did too good. No,
this is cool. Like, it's... and this is what I... Like, the leftist in me, like, hesitates to say this, but this is what I love about capitalism.
Yeah.
There are so many ways to make money nowadays. Like...
Well,
if you told me when I was 12 years old that, like, Preston, you can spend 8 hours a day playing video games
and make money,
get on a platform, and people will donate money to you just to watch you play.
You put your name on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Boom. Another source of revenue.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of capitalism, because it lets... Well, here's the beauty of capitalism, and I'm also I am also an admitted, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I am more of a liberal than anything else.
Yeah.
The issue is, for me, is that I recognize how, in this year, I should say, how far the left has gone. Like, I don't subscribe to radicalism. I don't care what side you're on. So now I feel a little more conservative, because I'm like, well, I also appreciate...
It feels like you have to be.
Yeah, I feel like I really appreciate the ability to make money, because what you do is in the capitalistic society... Nobody but the people decide what's good, right? So if you have a product or a service or a streaming platform, it's up to nobody but everybody to make the decision whether it's worthy or not.
Yeah, like, this is valuable.
Yeah, like, I like this, so they'll partake. Yeah. You know, and I completely agree.
Well, I think what we're struggling from is being a moderate, but to either side.
Yeah.
Like, if you are a moderate, to the right, you are a leftist, and if to the left, you are conservative.
Right.
But no, you're absolutely right. I just, like, if you told me the concept of Twitch, I'd be like, that's not going to work. That's crazy. I'm watching somebody else play Call of Duty.
Isn't it crazy
Yeah.
how fucking entertaining it is to watch people play video games?
Podcasts, Twitch, and YouTube, that's all I've been on since the start of this, is just, like, watching people interact with their friends. And it's hilarious. Like, there are comedic people on Twitch. It's funny.
Dude, they are funny.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I forget who's the guy with the mustache.
Oh man, what's
you know
his
who
name?
I'm talking about?
Doctor
something.
Yeah, something.
He's funny.
He's so funny. Yeah.
I forget who I watch, but yeah, no, honestly, because why I asked that you if you have Xbox or PlayStation. I play Call of Duty sometimes. I haven't in like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to put in those kind of hours on a video game, especially when you have other things.
Yeah. When you
maybe
have
it's a
life.
part of, like, no hard feelings, but come on. No, like, but seriously, like, if you're, and I don't know, once you've gotten the knack and the need, or not the need, but once you've felt what it's like to create things in the real world, nothing really beats that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to play video games for hours at that point. It's nice to do if you're relaxing, but sometimes you have other things to do.
Yeah.
And those other things might include changing things in the world into reality.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's hard for me. It's more of a winter thing. I think coming out of winter, I get that knack to play video games. But what's funny is I'll spend more time doing something even more completely useless, like on TikTok for too long, or scrolling through Instagram or Facebook.
I'll get lost in TikTok for like an hour. Yeah.
I'm so ashamed to admit to it, but I will scroll. I'll get home and lay on my back and just and without purpose. I'm not learning anything.
Mm-hmm.
I even do that right when I get up out of bed, until I see one of those memes that says 3 ways to improve your life, and it says don't look at social media
Yeah.
right when you get up. Get out of bed. Take a cold shower.
Yeah.
Like, so they're like,
or I love the ones on TikTok when you've been there for an hour and it literally says like you've been on
Yeah, but
TikTok for an hour,
well,
like you need to take a break.
how did you know? Dude, I'm so bummed they're getting rid of TikTok.
Yeah, that's
Like,
that's.
I
that's crazy.
understand that maybe it's compromising, but come on. This is
Yeah.
America. Somebody buy it. Bill Gates, somebody step in. Somebody
Yeah.
step in and just Microsoft should buy it.
I haven't kept updated on whether or not they're gonna do it. I think the last I read
I think
is,
it's been signed. It's supposed to.
yeah.
TikTok. Oh, here's where.
No, I mean that Microsoft was gonna buy it at one
Oh,
point,
they
right?
were.
Yeah.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
That would be perfect.
Yeah. But that's crazy.
That would suck.
And then just speaking to that really quick. I didn't know. So, like in college, I remember learning about what an executive order is,
yeah.
right? And I guess every president has done at least one. Like, it's really common in like the first 100 days. Like,
Yeah.
they sign a bunch of stuff. It wasn't until this presidency, though, that I was aware of how much power they hold. And I kind of don't like it.
How much the president
Yeah.
can actually do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, and I just think that's weird that, like, you know, there is one person
Yeah.
in this country that
Well,
if they have an opinion or a decision, they can just make it.
The younger me was always convinced that the president didn't matter because it was just
That's how I felt,
a temporary job, and they come
have
and
to
go.
run everything through Congress.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
on top of it, who knows who's incentivizing the signing of these bills
Yeah.
and these executive orders? What kind of? I mean, the war machine has to keep turning.
For sure.
The pharmaceutical machine, the prison machine. Not many people notice this too. Is that the prison industry is private.
Yeah.
Prison is private, and that's a massive
worth a
industry.
lot of money,
It's
yeah.
worth. I think it's one of the most lucrative. It could be before or just after the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
It's like $70,000 a year per prisoner. Like you know what I mean? It is to put that in words, or simply, is that there's a demand for prisoners.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up.
That's crazy.
It should not.
So that's the dark side of capitalism.
That's the dark side of capitalism. But that's why capitalism shouldn't have functions like that. That should be one of the functions that government owns.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hopefully, they wouldn't do even worse things with it. That's
Yeah.
what you hope, because the government should be again this emotionless.
I'm telling you, like we should determine
force.
everything that happens in government. Yeah.
But I also, on this conspiracy, back to the president, on my conspiracy brain, I'm thinking, well, the president now isn't a politician and he's too rich to be bought out. What if he's like trying to compromise all the shit that's happened before?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I always question that.
Okay.
Because do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I
Because
feel
like
you.
most politicians, you never know who's like, hey, sign this bill that enacts this, and we'll give you like $10 million. Like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Behind the curtains, you would never know.
Yeah.
That could really
That's
be a
scary.
conversation. That's a real conversation. But
Yeah.
to somebody who's already a billionaire and not a politician, they'd be like, no, fuck you. I want to do what I want to do, because their ego is more important
Yeah.
than money
Yeah.
at that point. You know? So
That's
I'm like,
weird.
I wonder how much that goes on. But
No, there are definitely parts of, and I think you said this earlier, is like, this isn't paradise and it's not perfect.
No.
I think I wish that everything that we create, just because of the history of this country, was built on rebellion.
Yeah.
Is that I wish everything that we create was open to compromise and to be changed for the better. Like,
Yeah.
just because it's written in the Constitution or it's written in law, we should still be able to change it. Like, this is not like the 1800s.
That's so fucked up that
You know
there's
what I
like a
mean?
party system with
Yeah.
their own qualifications.
And we only have two.
What needs to happen is exactly what happens in organisms and in all life, probably across the universe. It's a constant metamorphosis.
Yeah.
And that, okay, so now we have a generation of people like ourselves who like things from this group and that group, and now it's a combined collective opinion, but it's a progressive one at the very least.
Yeah.
Versus, I don't know, I only like, marriage, religion or this, or I only like socialism and freedom of whatever. My point is, there's these two parties don't seem to budge, and I say seem very strictly because that's what we're presented with on the media.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's really the case, because I feel like most people, because of the irresistible, not irresistible, but you can't really stop evolution.
Yeah.
And the human mind is constantly changing.
Yeah, and I wish there would be more, like, think about just like what's the average age of Congress?
Too fucking old. Half of them are probably still
archaic.
I bet you they're actually racist. Like they're that old, where they really still believe.
Because we were talking about experiences. Like their best experience was how good life was in the 50s. And that's crazy.
That's
like,
fucked
why
up.
are you still in office? Like, there's a 34-year-old somewhere who's actually like a little bit more connected to the community.
Yeah.
Grew up in it and like has friends.
Lived in other countries.
Yeah.
Because these old fogies in Congress have lived in the same country, in the same place, had the same wife, did the same thing, went to the same church, eat the same food. They're just a, oh my God. So Jordan Peterson was talking about it. Somebody throw it in the comments if you haven't already. Or not haven't already. I just mentioned it now. The hell, it's like a positive reinforcing cycle is what it's called. And it's when something just keeps repeating the same action of events and getting the same results but not changing.
Yeah.
And you're right. If you have somebody back then, they're riddled with bias and prejudice.
Yeah.
Because
and of course they are.
Of course they are, because that's the society they grew up in.
Yeah.
Do you think they want to smoke a joint? Do they know even the medical benefits of marijuana? And they're making decisions on that. Yet people are drinking and killing each other on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And dying because they drank too much on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That's a really fucked up conversation.
Yeah, I never understood that. I never understood why there is a...
the mic.
There's a... I never understood why there's a like minimum age requirement for running for president, but there's not a maximum one.
Dude. Whoa.
Yeah.
Good fucking point.
Like, so how old is Trump? 70?
Too fucking old.
Both
of them are too old.
Bernie Sanders was like 78.
Dude.
Biden is 74 or something like that.
Joe Biden is too old. Like, you can
70?
tell. Yeah. He's like, dude, imagine holding. Okay, so you look at the population. You go, okay, these are people who have to work every day of their lives.
Yeah.
And then they retire at a certain age. Imagine not retiring and then running the United States of America fucking 10 years later.
Yeah.
Hey, Siri. How old is Joe Biden?
Joe Biden is 77 years old.
Too fucking old, bro. And he's definitely... Have you seen any of the videos?
Oh.
Can we be honest?
This is my biggest dilemma right now is I honestly don't know who to vote for. Well, man...
Well, even last year, or last presidency, it was like Hillary or Joe Biden. Or Donald Trump. Like, even then, it was like these people, like
they're both in retirement age. Like, most people stop working at their age, and they are about to take an office where you have to make the most stressful decisions.
I think Andrew Yang talked about this on Joe Rogan's podcast. You remember who Andrew Yang is? He ran. He ran. Younger guy, Asian guy, great. He's a very intelligent dude. If you don't know who he is, check him out. He'll probably run in the future, but goddamn, we need somebody who's younger.
Yeah.
I didn't follow O'Breezy's that's Obama, by the way. Candidacy and everything, because I was too young. I was still in high school and all that, but he was like 50 or something.
Yeah.
So that's a little more reasonable. You still got some bite and some wit. But
he was smart. He was intellectual. Like, whether or not you agree with his policies, at least he could be spoken to in a manner where, like, you could convince him.
You could probably have sex without Viagra.
Yeah. That should be one of the requirements right there. Dude, you know what I mean?
Dude, 77? Somebody was making me laugh on TikTok, back to TikTok. referencing how Joe Biden running for president is elderly abuse. Because sometimes you see him talking and you have a feeling, you just have this gut feeling like he really doesn't know what he's doing. And it's like, don't do that. Like, you wouldn't let Grandpa eat another scoop of ice cream because it'll flare up his gout. But where's his family?
Or even Google pictures of like past presidents, like what they look like before the presidency and what they look like after.
Obama had a really crazy
and you're going to put somebody who's 70 plus into that position and ask them to make decisions that affect all of our lives.
Well, that's the conspiratorial side of me. It was like, well, they're probably not going to have him do shit. He'll just be a puppet.
If Biden gets elected?
Yeah, like he'll just kind of go up there like, hey, Biden, just read the prompter. Oh, okay.
Basically what he did in his vice presidency. That's literally what he's going to do. Yeah.
Just make sure you read the prompter. Look straight ahead. Biden, that way. Oh.
Yeah. But, I mean, also you can say the same thing about Congress. Like, heads of it.
That's the root of it. I really believe that, dude. Congress, I think they should reform how they elect and how long those terms last. Aren't they life terms?
They're not life, but you can continue to get reelected.
Really? Forever?
Which is crazy. Yeah. You can continue to get reelected, which I don't know why term limits aren't applied to them as well.
Yeah. You shouldn't be able to run again.
Have you ever tried to talk to somebody who's even 60 plus and try to change their mind on something?
Right.
I remember I had a client, right, where she was maybe 68.
Yeah.
And I had just gotten my nutrition certification.
Yep.
Precision nutrition. And I just was doing this with all my clients, is just talking to them about nutrition, like trying to meet them where they're at, like what do you do now? What are you willing to do? And this woman, I was like, okay, you have talked about that you want to lose some size in the midsection area. You want to lose a little bit of weight. What are you doing right now for your nutrition? And she listed like, I have like 2 Diet Cokes a day. I like to have my 3 glasses of wine at dinner.
God.
And literally told me like, I'm not willing to cut any of that out.
It's hard to change people's minds.
Yeah.
She's been doing that since the 50s.
Probably for the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
You're not going to change their minds.
Yeah.
And so you have all of these 60, 70, 80-year-olds in Congress now debating on how to help the American people.
Dude,
and
I think
they
you just
can't come to the decision.
Totally honest with you, I really think you just figured it out, man.
Yeah.
That is such a good point. Try to change. Okay, here's an experiment you can try it at home. Like he was just saying, try to change the mind of somebody who's 70, 60 even years old.
Yeah.
Go up to somebody who doesn't smoke pot and try to get them to smoke pot.
Yeah.
They've been drinking their whole fucking life.
Yeah.
Which
probably has more negative benefit, like more
long term.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Absolutely.
Especially combined alcohol with a terrible diet and no exercise and shitty sleep for fucking 65 years.
And they all have all 4 of those. Like they all only sleep 4 to 5 hours a night.
Coffee first thing in the morning every day forever.
They
no
aren't
hydration.
They're not going to eat until like 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. No breakfast.
Yeah.
Sit down job. And then they're making very important decisions.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, just like the foundations this government was built on, like compromise, it's just like, we need to get back to that somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do wish there were more younger people in politics.
Yeah.
Because I've always really resented politicians and stuff. I really don't think most of these people who are getting paid very good money, like being a reputable politician, can pay you a lot of money. I think that's a problem because you're a public servant. You shouldn't be getting paid that much.
Yeah.
You should I don't know how long ago it was. I referenced it before, but people back in the day would be like a butcher and also the politician of the town or something. You know what I mean? Like they would have a job and then they would be doing politics.
That should be something like be in the community and like represent me.
Because
like,
how
so
the
at
fuck
least you know
is somebody who's getting paid? I don't even know how much.
A lot.
Probably a lot.
6 figures.
Probably 6 figures, and they're making decisions on gas.
Yeah.
They're making decisions on travel. Do they really know what it's like to pay for gasoline?
Yeah.
It's weird because when you are making decisions on the United States tax money, which is a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
You should have some idea of what it's like to participate in that as well. And I wonder how much or what level of participation they even have in that. You know?
There's a bunch of people where, like, when they paid taxes, it was like 10% of their income.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Craziness. It's a crazy world.
It's a crazy world.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Okay.
Preston, I think we got the longest podcast to locals only history. We beat Dakota DeRoche.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure how long we went and took a pee for, but
I feel like it was a little all over the place. But
oh man,
dude, that's honestly how my brain works. Is
mine
like,
too. And honestly, I feel like we covered things really smoothly.
Stream of consciousness.
I probably should have a little bit to drink. I'm very calm. That was very awesome. I think we covered some cool shit, man, and I think a lot of people are gonna like what we had to say. Oh, cool. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? For those of you who haven't already, check out Preston's Instagram. Here it is right there. What is it if they're listening?
So I have two.
Okay.
Preston V 3.0.
Yep.
And then Action Preston.
I think I follow both, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
I think you do.
Yeah.
Action Preston spelled with an X.
Cool.
So AXTION Preston.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, folks, check them out. Thank you again so much, dude. It was an absolute honor having you on, dude.
Absolutely.
We'll have to have you come on again sometime soon.
Yeah,
maybe in the
wonderful.
future. Dude, that was really cool. We definitely have a good I think we have a good repertoire spitballing.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, folks.
All
right?
about the vibes.
Keep your mind open. If there's one thing you've learned, keep your mind open.
That's all it takes.
All right? Question everything. Don't be an asshole. You know?
Don't be an asshole. Don't.
Yeah,
if you don't remember anything else, don't be an asshole.
Yeah, that's a really easy one. You know what I mean? And don't comment on things you don't you're not going to educate anybody.
Yeah.
They've already made up their mind. I think people have trouble with that. But all right, thanks again for listening, guys. Have a great day. We'll see you.
Awesome.